hang on. The old chalkway weaves a devious route from Lyme Regis in Dorset, heading northeast through the chalklands up to Hunstanton in Norfolk, and it's an on-off-road route, probably 55% off-road and the remainder on-road, and it looked ideal for a summer half-term trip. The vast majority of the off-road riding was actually perfectly good. I would say probably about 99 to 99.5% of the route is fully rideable, given the dry conditions that we experienced. For our first night's camp, we were up at 260 metres on Gore Hill, so we tucked the tent down behind a hedge just to keep it out of the strong gusts. Next morning it was much brighter as we made our way off-road down to Cerne Abbas and its pretty chalk stream. Trish acted as the route navigator and she used Osmond mapping on her phone, which was very, very useful, very accurate, and she got on with it very well. We started the day the spring drought ended and we expected rain, but luckily we only had serious rain on one day and for a few moments on some of the other ones too. Yes, Shaftesbury's Gold Hill is very steep. Thankfully the route is beside hedges or in woods for much of the way, and this protected us from the very strong and gusty west wind which continued all the way to our camp, which we located right behind another hedge, otherwise our tent would have been demolished. A couple of sachets of pasta made a fairly meagre supper. I was surprised to find that nearly all the chalk streams are flowing really well, despite the recent drought. At Stowford we left the main A road and climbed up on a very narrow, overgrown bridleway. We climbed up into more open country, threaded through a few small woodlands, and then stones were in sight in the distance, and we were glad we didn't pay the extortionate entrance fee to see them. I'd seen them as a child, so we were happy to see them from a distance, and they were very, very crowded with tourists. Just beyond the circle, the wind and the rain really brewed up, and for the rest of the day my camera stayed packed away. We tucked our tent down low, right next to a hedge, because the wind was so strong. Our fourth day of riding took us along the Ridgeway, and it was entirely, well, almost entirely off-road, with terrific views down to the villages way below the chalk, and it was just lovely going, the west wind again pushing us along on our back. I mean, it's fine having a wind if it's on your back, but it was very strong at times. We gradually descended and finally crossed the Thames at Goring and found a little camp on the floodplain, which was wonderful.
Yeah, not what you expect to find.
Day 5 saw us leave the flat floodplain camp and head up into the Chilterns, the area where I'd been brought up as a child until I was around 18 and left home, and I was particularly looking forward to heading up into these beach-covered hills. Thankfully there was an underpass for the M40 crossing. After a few short sections on roads, it was mostly on bridleways and trails that we threaded away through the beech woods. It was lovely going and wonderful to be on a bike, as I'd always walked in these hills before as a youngster. Leaving Ivinghoe on day 6, I had at the back of my mind thoughts of passing through or near Dunstable, Luton, Hitchin, Letchworth and finally Royston, but actually I needn't have worried at all because the route was nearly always on quiet bridleways and any roads that were through the towns were okay. It was not a problem at all, and it was a lovely day's riding to our camp in the fields just east of Royston. Never mind the towns, the hardest part of the day was crossing the railway just north of Hitchin, a clamber up and a clamber down, hard with loaded bikes.
Yeah, this bridleway is very overgrown. First one of the trip actually.
Having sat down to mend a puncture, a hawthorn lodged in the tyre, we decided it was a great place to camp and stayed the night here. With the hawthorn stuck in the tyre, it made it actually very easy to fix the puncture. The route through the King's Forest just south of Thetford gave lovely going. The air full of the scent of the pines, and the trail's pretty decent on the whole. There were a few rough bits here and there, and it took us straight to our next camp tucked in the edge of the trees. The only one thing though, there were lots of ticks, presumably because of the deer in the forest, and we picked quite a number off our legs. And being out of the wind, it was a good place to fry our sausages for supper and tomorrow's lunch.
We're walking out of our Thetford Forest camp.
For our last day's riding, we threaded a route round the edge of the Breckland forests on very sandy trails that were quite hard going, a bit humpy, and there were lots of sand traps, but it was again nearly all rideable with care. A few narrow bridleways too, and quite a lot of hawthorns to watch out for. I'd not been sure what to expect on the Peddars Way, but it was delightful cycling, mostly heading straight towards the coast through patches of woodland, and it was lovely. A bit narrow in places, but mostly good going. After miles of easy pedalling on the route, we finally caught our first glimpse of the sea, and we knew the end was near. With the wind still blowing strongly from the west/northwest, we tucked our tent behind some bushes and enjoyed the wonderful views over the North Sea. An incredible double rainbow rising right behind our camp. What a way to finish. A tremendous route, lovely riding, highly recommended. Now, please enjoy 52 stills from the trip.